Developing today. Donald Trump wants the real juice on Meghan Markle. And guess who he went to try and find out what's really going on with the fake Duchess? Only the Queen. Only Queen Camilla. This extraordinary detail about a conversation on the state visit of the United Kingdom by the US president has been revealed by Tom Sykes of the Royalist blog. Here's the headline: how Trump asked Camilla, "What's the gossip on Meghan?" He reports a source tells the Royalist that when Donald Trump visited King Charles and Queen Camilla for his state visit last month, he asked Queen Camilla, "So what's the gossip on Meghan then? What's going on there?" The exclusive revelation from the Royalist mole in the heart of the establishment will irritate the palace, which hates seeing big state events upstaged by gossipy details of private conversations, which I, guess is fair enough. However, he goes on to report, this new detail about Trump looking for Meghan T is worth reporting, I think, because it tells us a good bit about Trump's ongoing fascination with the British monarchy. It certainly shows us that Trump is still following the story of the errant Prince Harry and his wife and would have liked an exclusive update. Trump's history with Markle predates her royal life, of course. In 2016, when she was still an actress and he a mayor presidential candidate, she called him misogynistic and divisive on a Comedy Central panel show. Since then, he's called her terrible, said Harry was whipped like no person I've ever seen. I mean, true. And publicly fantasized about their divorce. He told Piers Morgan that Meghan would end it bad and find another guy. I also think he's right there. He even suggested that Harry could be deported if he had lied about previous drug use on his visa before then saying, "I don't want to do that, I'll leave him alone. He's got enough problems with his wife. She's terrible." Sorry, he cracks me up. Trump's fixation with Meghan is part of his binary worldview. Of course, you cross him, you're done. But what is also interesting is that Trump's circle has learned to harness resentment of Meghan, whose progressive world salads foregrounding of subjective reality, and as her critics see it, performative wokery energize those on the right of the global culture wars. Eric Trump called Meghan and Harry spoiled apples. May Mailman, a Harvard-educated lawyer and close ally of Trump's ideological architect, Stephen Miller, recently deployed the phrase Meghan Markle syndrome on a New York Times podcast, defining it as manufacturing trauma in service of success. The truth, of course, is that Trump and Meghan have more in common than either would admit. Both are hugely concerned with image, both profess to detest the press while depending on it, and both understand the value of weaponizing the narrative of grievance. So when Trump turns to Queen Camilla and asks, "So what's the gossip on Meghan?" my feeling is that he is trying to signal to the establishment that he is in their camp. Camilla, I'm told, gracefully avoided replying to Trump's inquiry, but made a gesture, which her husband has also been known to make, crossing her wrists as if they were handcuffed to suggest with her eyes smile that she couldn't say anything. To Rafe Hadel-Manku, he is a historian, broadcaster, and of course, one of Britain's #1 constitutional and royal experts, also a fellow at the New Culture Forum. So, Rafe, is it inappropriate for Tom Sykes to go there? Do you know what I mean? To report this private exchange between the Queen and Trump? Because I know some people say it was inappropriate, but I have to say I loved it, Rafe. I loved the little detail.
Yes, look, those who enjoy a gossip will absolutely have loved this. I had a
Guilty as charged.
I don't think, obviously with my constitutional hat on, I don't think those things are advisable, but certainly, the journalists and all of us would love to know these details. And of course, during the state visit, remember, many people were being very dismissive of the president, saying, "Oh, what will he have to talk about to members of the royal family? They have nothing in common." Well, they certainly have one thing in common, and that's their attitude to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall there to see Her Majesty crossing her hands like as if they were shackled. And I can only imagine the chuckle that Her Majesty must have had with the King later on that evening when they were alone discussing all of this. But yes, it just does go to show the great degree of support and affection that President Trump has for the monarchy, the most Anglophilic president we've had in recent memory. Contrast with President Biden, virulent Anglophobe. Just remember this, runs deep in the Biden family. His mother once slept on the floor of an Irish hotel when she was told that Queen Elizabeth II had slept in one of the bedrooms. And rather than risk sleeping in the same bed as the Queen, she slept on the floor. Now that's I would call monarchy derangement syndrome.
Yes.
Right there.
Indeed. Look, bit of an issue potentially, I think, for the king involving this woman, Emma Grede. So let me just take you through the story. So she is an ambassador for the King's Trust, right? But last night hosted a dinner in Los Angeles and then briefed to the media how Meghan Markle was the star guest and, you know, she bought the wine and all of that type of thing. They then posed together on video backstage. And I mean, there were a couple of awkward little moments, actually. Let me show you this. First, she nearly hit Meghan during one of her speeches.
There are those of you that are raising a lot of money, are trying to raise a lot of money.
And then Meghan was furious when she dared to interrupt her here. Can you see? Can you see the look on Meghan's face? But lots of people saying, well, actually, you've got to choose a side. Nancy Sidley, the royal YouTube sensation, writing, okay, King's Foundation must immediately strip Emma Grede from being an ambassador. This is outrageous. Emma cannot be trusted to do the work on behalf of the King for the good of the people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. This is an interesting one, Rafe, isn't it? Because on the whole, what we have seen is people do tend to pick a side, right? And most high-profile folk, including Hollywood celebrities, by the way. I mean, I'm thinking of everyone from, you know, Taylor Swift to Lady Gaga. You know, the biggest stars in the world have chosen their side, and they have chosen the British royal family, and they have chosen King Charles and Prince William. But is there an issue with someone like Emma Grede sort of trying to straddle both? Big news, Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
I personally think it is. I'm never very comfortable when the monarchy allies itself too closely with the world of celebrity, because they do essentially hold themselves as hostages to fortune. And of course, when your role as an ambassador to a royal cause comes into conflict with perhaps your personal career and what benefits it may accrue to you by associating yourself with someone like Meghan. I don't know possibly in what way associating with Meghan would advance you in any way, but they do come into conflict. And I think the royal household have been very good at choosing and selecting ambassadors in the past, and other people who are very sound and whose, you know, Tom Cruise and others, whose politics, or not the politics necessarily, but whose ability to sympathize with the royal family side of things is very clear. I'm not terribly familiar with this woman as a whole, I have to say, but it does seem as if perhaps she's a bit too much LA and far less Windsor in terms of her outlook and her attitude.
Yeah, I agree, actually. And I mean, the problem, I guess, is, Rafe, though, we're going to see Meghan become increasingly desperate, aren't we? And it's going to cause more and more issues for the British royal family. I mean, think of what we've seen in the last fortnight alone. She invites herself to the Balenciaga show in Paris. There's this revolting stunt where she quite clearly tries to emulate Diana's final journey in Paris. I mean, I know her team have pushed against that, but it's like, sorry, if you're that not thoughtful to realize what's going on, that's an issue anyway. Then she's straight to New York, briefing the paparazzi constantly, you know, come and get this picture with Ed Sheeran, come and get this picture with Gloria Steinem. You know, it's right back to like the Soho House girl days. Then to Washington, D.C., where she makes a whole load of nasty claims about the royal family needing to heal after the royal family on stage. And the problem is, Rafe, nothing is working for her. So we're seeing more and more and more and more of this.
And let's not forget also her most recent jibe against the royal family, when she mocked and laughed the royal household's requirement that ladies in the royal family wear pantyhose, for example.
In the Bloomberg interview.
Look,
yeah.
Everything she has is completely fraying around it. Look, she's now been trying to defend this Netflix deal. Essentially, Netflix are trying to give her a way out the back door here. A much smaller deal that she secured with Netflix, and all it really means is Netflix has the right of first refusal. So Netflix is not any longer committed to producing any of the tripe that she puts out, the saccharine broadcasts. And you can see also that she's increasingly desperate to remain relevant because nothing that she's done has succeeded. Her last show passed with barely a murmur from the media world. She's now desperate, as you say, going to these fashion, inviting herself to fashion shows, and then tweeting on social media, making it sound as if she's cooperating in some way with fashion designers. This is desperate stuff. This is somebody who's clearly wanting, her whole career has been about social advancement and career advancement. We know that's why she married into the royal family. She used the Duke of Sussex as a springboard to stardom. Once she secured that, there was no need for a royal family. But now she's realizing the royal family was actually her only hope, because without the royal family, we can all see that she has no talent. There's no quality there. She might be a shrewd businesswoman in some capacities, but she doesn't have the ability to produce the content, to have the charm, the charisma, and
No
the
way.
talent to make a success of any of that.
No
And unfortunately,
she doesn't. She doesn't. So it's going to get worse. But look, you've got to feel sorry for Charles at the moment, the king, Rafe. You know, whatever you might think of him, there are challenges on every front. Okay, and what's going on with Prince Andrew is just adding to this existing strain in regards to Prince Harry. Now, of course, Buckingham Palace made clear, and I don't disagree with this, by the way. I know some people have questioned this, but they say, look, Harry is the bigger deal for Buckingham Palace. He is posing more issues. There's the renewed attempt to get security. You know, he's written to Shabana Mahmood, the UK's new leftist Home Secretary, even though he had promised Charles he wasn't going to get back involved in that battle. So I actually agree with Buckingham Palace that Harry is the bigger issue. Harry and Meghan, like, as a package. However, what's going on with Prince Andrew over the past couple of weeks has been pretty devastating for the king, especially given he took a bit of a chance bringing Andrew and Fergie back into the royal fold against the wishes of his eldest son. And then you look at the front pages of the UK newspapers today, Rafe, and I mean, we're now learning Andrew met the Chinese spy master 3 times. This is the guy who has been part of this espionage trial, which has exploded in the United Kingdom. Then you have the email that he sent to Jeffrey Epstein, which, I'm sorry, does prove that he did lie, and he has been lying for some time. And now you have the book, the autobiography by Virginia Giuffre, sort of haunting Andrew from beyond the grave, where she accuses the Duke of viewing having sex with her as his birthright, and describes how he seemed to get off on the fact that she was only slightly older than his daughters. So from what I'm told, Rafe, and I don't know what you're hearing, but, you know, William is just very much like, he's got to go. You know, he's got to leave Royal Lodge. He's got to leave the country. This is exile time now. But Charles is concerned that how can you push someone any further, you know, because obviously Andrew is no longer part of formal royal life. You know, he is effectively retired. So what do you think the monarch should do here?
Well, the first thing we know, of course, is that if Prince Andrew is still alive when Prince William succeeds to the throne, then we will see even further drastic attempts made to send him into Coventry. I think there's no doubt about that whatsoever. The king has already done a lot, as we know. The king has cut off his funding, his personal allowance. He's also cut off his security. How the Duke of York manages to continue to fund his security remains a great question, and to how long he can carry on funding that.
Well, yeah, and that's why maybe there's these dodgy meetings, Rafe, with people like the Chinese spy master. That's the problem. If you financially starve someone, they become desperate.
That's what I was going to say. So that's potentially an area where the king could actually intervene and force his brother out of Royal Lodge, be it to Frogmore Cottage, or be it perhaps an even bigger exile to somewhere in Scotland, or indeed outside of the UK. The king also, of course, has the ability to formally strip him of the Royal Highness. Now, he's not using the style of Royal Highness, but he could be stripped of his Royal Highness by letters patent. Stripping him of the Dukedom of York, that's potential, but that would have to go through Parliament as an act of Parliament. And of course, you'd have to justify to the government that it's worth taking up parliamentary time to strip him of his title. So there aren't really that many more things that the king can do, although, of course, it has been touted that Prince Andrew could be banned from ever going to Sandringham or to Balmoral or Windsor or
Because
Buckingham
of these shooting
Palace.
weekends, Rafe. I mean, this is Tom Sykes' big issue at the moment. You know, he's basically saying, you know, the way to remove Prince Andrew of any sort of existing cachet in high society is to remove his rights to host shooting weekends.
Yeah.
And then he'd almost be forced to potentially move. I don't know, Rafe, people seem to speculate on the fact he'll end up in Saudi Arabia or something like that. And then Prince William will be happy.
Look, my view has always been the same thing. Everybody in the nation regarded Prince Andrew very highly for his conduct in the Falklands War, and in the Falklands War, as a pilot, he was willing to risk his life for Queen and country. He now needs to do the same thing, sacrifice his public life completely for the sake of King and country, and that means disappear from view forever in whatever way they decide to eventually do it.
I know it's look, it's a tragic situation, Rafe. It is a tragic situation all round because I like to have these discussions without hysteria, and I do think we need to remind people because I do believe in being fair to Andrew. You know, I've gone on quite a journey. I was very, very tough on him in the early days, but then I learned a little bit about the psychological impact of what he's going through and how close to death, to be frank, you know, he was. And all I will say, Rafe, is that remember, he did want to fight Virginia Giuffre, a proven liar on lots of issues, in court, but he was effectively told by the royal establishment, and my God, they came down on him like a ton of bricks, you will destroy your mother's platinum jubilee if you even countenance this. You have to settle, and then you've got to go quietly. And he did that. And as a result, there was no court case against Virginia Giuffre. So I just feel like there has to be a bit of balance to this. However, it's inexcusable, the lies that he told. Totally inexcusable.
But that's why I said it the way that I said it in relation to the Falklands War. He has not been found guilty in a court of law, but he has been found guilty in the public arena, in the public court. The public have found him guilty, rightly or wrongly. And there comes a point, whether you are a soldier or a prince, where you have to put the interests of the monarchy first, king and country or queen and country. And there's more damage caused by the continuance of that association. That's why I think the honourable thing to do, the gentlemanly thing to do, as he said himself in his Emily Maitlis interview, he's a gentleman, is to essentially remove himself completely from the fray. And yes, there would have been more sympathy for him, perhaps, had it not been revealed that he was still in touch with Epstein after when he claimed he was in the Emily Maitlis interview. And of course, we've also had the evidence with Sarah, Duchess of York, as well. So and then of course the Chinese and other oligarchs and despots from around the world who we know historically. So I think a clean break of some sort is required. But of course, still have Princess Eugenie and Beatrice, who will remain, of course, a link between the palace and the Duke.
Really fascinating stuff. Rafe Hadel-Manku, one of the best in the United Kingdom, true patriot. Make sure you subscribe to his brilliant YouTube channel where you can find a lot of his work. And of course, he is also a fellow of the New Culture Forum. And my God, it's been a really tough week for the New Culture Forum, Rafe, with the announcement of Peter Whittle's cancer diagnosis. There was such an outpouring, actually, from outspoken viewers, and he was our greatest Britain this week, and we're just sending Peter and all of you at the New Culture Forum all of our love and support.
Thanks so much, Dan. That's greatly appreciated. And we've been overwhelmed by all the thousands of messages, literally thousands, that have come to Peter, and we'll pass the message on to him. Thank you.
He's a great man. He is a great man, as are you, Rafe Hadel-Manku. So thank you so much. And I always love having you on Outspoken. Please come back soon, Rafe. Thank you so much. And of course, we're now going to reveal the worst Britain in the world this week. But first, your feedback. Jay Hartley, 7211, says Tony Blair, by far. He should be rotting in a cell for all the crimes against humanity he has caused and continues to push evil agendas. Samuel Smith agrees. He says the answer is and will always be Tony Blair over any other Labour muppet. His 30-year plan into the destruction of the UK has never stopped or slowed down. While Keir Starmer is a very hateable figure, remember the reasons you dislike him. Mass immigration, backdoor communism, human rights bureaucracy, two-tier justice, digital ID. These are all part of Blair's legacy. There's lots of negativity towards Tony Blair, and I completely understand it. Although Charlie Chuck 99 says, Starmer. It's always going to be Starmer. It always will be until the day he's removed from office. The rest would be suitable candidates after that time. Although an honourable mention here from Shanghai Rooster for Samuel Williams, the arrested Oxford student. He writes, normally it would be either Starmer or Blair, but it has to be that disgusting excuse for a human being, Williams, for advocating genocide quite openly. Does he think he's Julius Streicher or something? If he doesn't get a good long stretch inside, we'll know that justice in Britain is dead. Okay, the results are in. So many votes. Again, thank you so much. Let's reveal the results now. In fourth place, with 3% of your vote, Rachel Reeves. In third place, with 8% of your vote, Samuel Williams. The runner-up with 18% of your vote, Tony Blair. But the worst Britain in the world this week, with 70% of your vote, it's Slippery Starmer.
Meghan Markle announced her intention to expand her growing business empire by releasing a new series of social media videos, marking another step in her evolution from actress to influential entrepreneur. Appearing at Fortune's Most Powerful Women's Summit in Washington, District of Columbia, the Duchess of Sussex took to the stage at the Salamander DC Hotel to discuss her creative ventures, her collaboration with Netflix, and the lessons learned from her ambitious new projects. Speaking candidly, Meghan shared that her production team is experimenting with delivering content in multiple formats, ranging from full-length episodes to short, easily consumable clips tailored for online audiences. She told the audience that while it is enjoyable to watch a half-hour show, the modern viewer often prefers faster and more accessible content. Part of what we are testing now, she said, is how to take something that might usually take 30 minutes and transform it into something engaging and useful within 2 minutes. It's about sharing creativity in new ways and watching how that continues to grow. Reflecting on the production process, Meghan admitted that creating her latest show has been a year filled with learning experiences. She explained that producing 8 episodes across 2 seasons demanded enormous effort, describing the past year as both challenging and rewarding. Drawing on her 7-year experience filming the television series Suits, Meghan reminded the audience that she fully understands the hard work, long hours, and creative energy that go into making a successful production. Having spent so many years on Suits, I know how much dedication and effort it requires. I also understand that audiences today want content that fits their time and lifestyle, she said. The Duchess also offered a light-hearted preview of her upcoming holiday special, which will include her personal gift wrapping techniques, a playful reference to her pre-royal life when she once taught advanced gift wrapping between acting auditions. With a smile, she joked that her journey had come full circle in a way I never expected. Meghan went on to reflect on the responsibilities of being what she called a high-profile business founder. She emphasised that she is actively using her global influence to build a sustainable and meaningful brand through her lifestyle company, As Ever. Her session, titled Next Level Influence, a conversation with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, was hosted by Alison Chantel, the editor-in-chief of Fortune magazine. The event began at 12 o'clock noon local time, equivalent to 5 o'clock in the afternoon in British time, on the second day of the annual summit. Since its inception in 1999, the gathering has drawn some of the most powerful women from the worlds of business, politics, and entertainment. Among this year's distinguished speakers were actress and producer Selena Gomez, former United States Vice President Kamala Harris, and Washington District of Columbia Mayor Muriel Bowser. During her address, Meghan discussed her new first look agreement with Netflix, a deal that grants the streaming platform the initial right to review and approve her and Prince Harry's proposed television and film projects before they are offered elsewhere. Explaining the difference between her previous overall contract and this new arrangement, she said, "My husband and I were previously in an overall deal with Netflix. Now, with this first look deal, we have greater flexibility. We can bring our ideas to Netflix first, and if something doesn't quite fit, we can take it to another home that's right for the project." While some industry commentators described the shift as a downgrade, Meghan suggested that it actually offers her more freedom to explore diverse creative directions. She also teased that her cooking and lifestyle series, With Love, Meghan, might return for a holiday edition, saying the holiday special will be out in November and it's going to be a really beautiful one. Once again, she mentioned how demanding the production schedule had been, reiterating that 8 episodes spread across 2 seasons involved an enormous amount of work and care. "Having done Suits for 7 years, I remember the scale of production and how much audiences appreciate content in many different forms," she said. She concluded by describing how her team continues to experiment with different styles of storytelling. "It's exciting to sit down and watch a 30-minute show, but sometimes it's just as satisfying to deliver something meaningful in 2 minutes. That's what we're exploring right now with As Ever, how to adapt, grow, and connect with people everywhere."